Welcome back, everyone, to Singapore Property Talk Law. Hey, if you find these deep dives useful, do give us a like, maybe subscribe. That way you won't miss the next one. Today, we're jumping straight into something pretty interesting happening at the very, very top end of the market. We're talking ultra-luxury condos.
That's right.
And, what's really catching attention is this uptick in sales, even with the current economic mood.
Absolutely. And just so we're clear, we mean condos in the core central region, generally priced at $10 million or more.
Right.
And our mission today, really, is to dig into what's actually fueling these, high-end deals.
Okay, let's get straight to the numbers then, because wow, they do tell a story. First 3 months of 2025 this year, 17 sales in this ultra luxury category.
17.
Yeah, now compare that. Last year, same period, only 7.
It's a good jump.
Huge jump, more than double. And it's even higher than 2023, which had 15, and 2022, which had 14.
And 2022 was before that big ABSD hike for foreigners, remember?
Exactly. So what does this surge in early 2025 really tell us?
Well, what's really interesting is that it doesn't look like just a quick flash in the pan. By May 22nd this year, sales had already hit 24 units.
24 already.
Yeah, and just for context, that's more than the entire first half of 2024. That was only 17 units total.
Okay, so there's some real momentum then.
It definitely suggests that, a steady push behind these big-ticket deals.
And it's not just the number of deals, is it? Some of the prices, they're making people look twice. That penthouse at Park Nova, for example, sold for nearly $39 million.
$38.888 million, to be precise.
Which works out to, what, almost $6,600 per square foot?
6,593 PSF. That's significant.
Significant how? What does that PS figure mean in the grand scheme?
It's the second highest price per square foot ever recorded here.
Ever.
Wow. Second highest.
Yep. The only one higher was way back in November 2011. A unit at the Mark on Patterson Hill hit $6,650 PSF.
Okay, so we're talking historic levels almost. Pretty much. It shows that premium buyers are willing to pay for, certain very specific properties. And we're also seeing a lot of buzz around 21 Anderson. That's a new freehold project.
Right. The King Leong one, Wee-Cho Yaw family's company.
That's the one. They've already closed 4 deals there, each over $20 million.
4 deals over $20 million already.
Yeah. So it raises the question, why these projects? What makes them stand out?
It does make you think, doesn't it? Because, Singapore's GDP growth forecast for this year is, well, modest, 0 to 2% range.
Right.
You'd maybe expect things to cool down a bit at this super high end. So what's overriding those broader economic signals for these particular buyers?
That's really the million-dollar question, or rather the $10 million plus question here. Look, people like Selina Ling, OCBC's chief economist, suggest these ultra-high net worth buyers, they're probably looking beyond just the immediate GDP numbers.
Okay. So what are they looking at?
Things like Singapore's overall stability, macroeconomic, political, that's huge. Safety, exactly. Plus, the potential for the Singapore dollar to hold its value or even appreciate. Security of capital, ease of doing deals here.
So their wealth isn't necessarily tied just to Singapore's immediate growth spurt or lack thereof?
Probably not as directly, no. They're playing a longer game, thinking about wealth preservation and global positioning.
And you mentioned the currency, that whole de-dollarization theme people talk about sometimes. Does Singapore fit into that?
It could play a role. Singapore is seen as having a strong, stable currency. Add that to our limited land, stable funding, our status as a financial hub. It all makes Singapore look quite attractive, especially if you're looking for diversification or stability for very large sums.
Okay, so we've got these headline-grabbing sales, but does this mean the whole property market is roaring back, or is it more specific?
Well, market watchers are definitely saying, hold on a minute. It's probably too early to call it a full rebound across the board. What we seem to be seeing is more like selective demand for standout projects. That's a phrase Mohan Chandrasekaran from SRI used.
Selective demand, okay.
Yeah, it's not like everything is flying off the shelves. It's very focused on certain developments, like the ones we mentioned, Park Nova, 21 Anderson, projects that offer something, well, unique or highly desirable.
And what is it about these standout places? What are the specific things drawing these buyers in?
Marcus Chu over at ERA Singapore, he points to a few key things. Freehold tenure, that's always a big one.
Right, owning the land forever.
Exactly. Also, large floor areas. These aren't small units. People want space.
Big apartments.
And multiple bedrooms. This suggests they're not just, small crash pads. They could be family homes or at least substantial long-term investments.
Makes sense. And supply plays a part too, right?
Definitely. In the first quarter of this year, only 78 new units were actually launched in the whole core central region.
Only 78. That's not many.
Not at all. So when you have limited new supply, especially of the type these buyers want large, freehold, it naturally fuels demand for what is available.
Looking ahead then, are there other projects coming up that might keep this ultra-luxury segment buzzing?
Yeah, there are a few on the radar. W Residences down at Marina View, Robertson Opus, River Green. These are names being watched. They could definitely inject some more excitement, maybe in the second half of the year.
Interesting. Let's shift focus slightly. What about the global situation, all the uncertainty out there? Does that play into this?
Oh, absolutely. Christine Sun from Orange Tea and Thai thinks so. Her view is that with all the, ongoing global volatility, even if things like U.S.-China tariffs pause, the underlying tension is still there.
Right. The uncertainty doesn't just vanish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in times like these, luxury properties in a super stable place like Singapore can start looking like, well, safe haven assets.
A safe place to park money.
Pretty much. Especially if people get nervous about, say, the equity markets.
Yeah.
Real estate, particularly high-end real estate in a secure location, feels tangible, secure.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, one last really interesting point, the buyers themselves. You mentioned the profile seems to be changing, more locals.
Yes, that's a really noticeable shift. If you looked back before the April 2023 ABSD hike for foreigners,
Foreign buyers were a huge part of this segment then.
they often dominated it, yeah. But look at Q1 this year. According to Ms. Sun's data, out of those 17 ultra-luxury deals, 5 went to Singapore citizens and 8 went to permanent residents, PRs.
8 to PRs. That's quite a chunk, more than citizens.
It is. It shows much stronger participation from locals, broadly defined, at this very top tier.
Is there a reason why PRs might be particularly active now?
Well, Mr. Chu from ERA has a theory. He suggests some might be newly minted PRs.
Ah, okay.
So they're potentially buying their first property here and benefiting from that lower ABSD rate.
Which is what for PRs buying their first home?
It's 5%.
Yeah.
Much lower than the 60% foreigners now pay, or even the 20% a Singaporean pays on their second property.
Right. That 5% versus 60% is a massive difference.
Huge. And we should also remember, buyers from a few specific countries, the U.S., Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, Switzerland, they get treated like Singaporeans for ABSD on their first home due to free trade agreements. So they avoid that 60% too.
Got it. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. If we summarize, we're seeing this surprisingly strong activity in Singapore's ultra-luxury condo market. It seems quite resilient,
Surprisingly resilient, even growing in volume compared to recent periods.
driven by very specific standout projects.
Definitely selective demand.
And the buyers, these high net worth individuals, seem motivated by Singapore's stability, the currency, maybe seeing it as a safe haven.
Looking beyond just the immediate economic figures, focusing on those fundamentals.
And crucially, the buyer demographic has shifted, with Singaporeans and especially PRs playing a much bigger role than before.
A very noticeable shift, yes.
All right. So here's something for you, our listeners, to chew on. Given everything we've talked about, the stability, the currency, the safe haven appeal, the changing buyers, what does this sustained buzz at the very top end suggest about Singapore's long-term pull as a global center for wealth? And, how might future global wobbles or events continue to shape this really fascinating slice of the property market? Lots to think about there. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive on Singapore Property Talk Law. And please do remember to like and subscribe so you catch our next discussion. See you then.